Welcome, Steve. We're delighted you're here with us again.
It's wonderful to be here.
So we can all see up there you're, Chairman, Direct Travel Center, Troop, Spotnana, CEO at Spotnana, Madrona. I'm curious to know what drives you.
I'm having fun. I'm learning. I keep them busy. Look, I feel lucky we get to innovate in an industry that I happen to love. And so from my point of view, how much more fun could you ask for in life? So, and as you know, a lot of things have changed, right? Since the days that I was at Concur, a lot of things have changed. Technology's changed. We've gotten to a point where there's cloud infrastructure, machine learning, and then you're working with the next generation of leaders. So I'm like a kid in a candy shop.
So you get up energized, excited.
Very much so.
All right, now listen, most of those companies are about driving change and progress in business travel, and then you go and buy a traditional travel agency. Explain.
Yeah, look, I think there's going to be a massive change in the corporate travel management arena. I think a lot of it is driven by what tech stack you offer to your customers. Frankly, the cost structure to deliver that. In fact, I think that if you look at today's cost structure for delivering service, I think there's an opportunity with modern technologies like Spotnana, Troop, Center, frankly, what AI is doing across the stack, to take that cost structure and cut it in half. So if you think about what would a modern TMC look like if it was really built on next-gen AI-enabled, I should say it differently, AI native services, you can not only deliver it at a much better cost structure, I think you can deliver a much better set of services to the traveler, which is ultimately what we all aspire to go.
And how long do you sort of envisage that will take to bring all those components to direct?
Linda, we're seeing it right now.
Okay.
We're seeing it right now. There's work that we're doing at Spotnana, for example, that is designed around not only how do we serve our TMC customers, but how do we bring their cost structure down to 50 cents on the dollar in their existing cost structure? My view is you're going to see the first cut at that in the March time period, meaning like there's a meaningful reduction in cost structure. But by the end of 25, you're going to see us operating at scale at a cost structure that's half of what a traditional TMC cost structure looks like. So that's one piece of it. It's driven in part by AI, but it's also driven, frankly, by a more intuitive and frankly better traveler experience. But that AI cost structure in the moment you leave the front door, through the trip, all the way back, how do we make it predictive? How do we actually solve the problems for you before you even ask, hey, is there an issue?
And we will go on and talk about Otto and developments around that. All those individual businesses that we just talked about serve direct travel, but you have had that criticism leveled at you already about how they then retain their independence. How do you address that?
The independence of?
For example, Spotnana, because I think that's where the main criticism was leveled, but I mean, it could cross over to the other businesses.
Yeah, so look, Spotnana's core mission is we want to be a technology platform company that's completely open. Right? So if you can add value to it and innovate on top of it, we would love for you to do that. But part of the reason why we actually invested in Spotnana and actually worked on building out the Spotnana platform is if you look at it, the system of record for travel is archaic. There's not a lot you can do with the existing system of record. It's not extensible in any way, shape, or form. And so we looked at this and said, can we come up with a modern version or modern system of record, make it completely extensible by anybody that's adding value to the trip? Anybody that's adding value to the traveler. And then on top of that, how do you take other services like the travel profile, the policy, and make those open and extensible? And if you can do that, and then look at how do you drive the consumption of content regardless of where it comes from in a way that actually delivers a transparent experience between the supplier of that content and the buyer of that content, then you've got an opportunity to reinvent the core infrastructure that's needed to enable what I would call powering the perfect trip, whether that's for businesses or for consumer travel. And that's what we're focused on. Now, we started out by saying, hey, look, we're new at this. We're going to go build a TMC internally to make sure that we can serve our customers. But our intention is always to support every single TMC partner that we have. And we're doing that today. Like CWT is a great partner.
Right.
BCD is a partner.
I think it was the CEO of BCD that sort of voiced that concern, though, wasn't it?
Sure. And look, I mean, my feeling is like, if the view is, hey, we would like for the world to stay the same and not change, we would like for innovation to stop, well, that's not going to happen. Right? So we're going to go drive innovation, and if you want to adopt it, we would love to partner with you.
So does that mean you then get on the phone with him and go, look, this is the way we're thinking?
Stefan's a wonderful guy, and I think we'll actually end up being partners well outside of just the one relationship we have today. But again, this is independent companies looking at the world from a different point of view. We look at the world and say there's a lot of room for improvement. And we're coming at it with less history or less baggage than some of the larger TMCs are coming at it from.
So you talk about the systems not being extensible and us needing to do something about that and evolve. Does that mean you think that they're obsolete? Are we going to see a complete transformation in sort of booking tools and expense management from what we see today?
Yeah, so it was an interesting question on one of the prior panels that what does the world look like 5 or 10 years from now?
Yeah.
The incumbents still the leaders. I don't buy that. I think the reality is in every single wave of technology, you've seen new leaders emerge. And yes, I do think that the system of record will evolve. Does it mean that it's only owned by Spotnana? Not necessarily. It can be shared. And this is the piece that's really important. You can't have a next generation system of record and say, by the way, it's proprietary and only we get to control it. Because why would anyone change? Mm-hmm. Right? I think our industry is screaming for a modern version of that system of record. But the only way it'll be trusted is it's completely open and anybody can add value to it. So my view is that you're going to see, I don't think it's necessarily a new OBT, it's just a new way of booking travel.
Okay.
Right? I mean, it's
well,
not just the Spotnanas of the world.
Maybe no OBT.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. Like if you look at what Auto is doing, right? Auto is fundamentally a conversational interface that allows you to book travel with an understanding of your context. It's not just your preferences and all the things that are important to you in travel, but your calendar. Yeah. Right? We have busy lives. I want my travel to fit, at least for business travel, to fit within the calendar of the life that I have. And so I think you're going to see conversational interfaces in for booking. I think you'll see conversational interfaces in for trip disruption and management. And so there's a whole bunch of the experience that's going to change. And I think it's very hard for legacy players to drive that level of evolution. The piece that's important is you can't drive AI into the application stack by saying it's an add-on. You have to re-architect your entire application stack to say it's actually a AI native application where the insights and the actions that you take from that data actually fold into the application and change the behavior of the application.
Otto it's kind of like it's your latest baby really. And talking to Michael yesterday, it's still in alpha. So, how quickly do you anticipate it having an impact? Well,
Michael's pretty aggressive. So my sense is that he'll be in market sometime in mid-2025 at the latest. And, we'll see where it grows from there. It's really focused on the unmanaged travel space for now. Yeah. This is, in my view, an underserved market segment. And being able to provide effectively TMC equivalent services, but in a largely digital format, is a welcome solution within that segment.
Do you worry about are you concerned about the pace of change? I mean, I did ask him this as well, in the sense that while he's working from alpha to beta and through that process, that Microsoft or OpenAI brings out something that can do that, all of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, life's supposed to be, you're supposed to have competition. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to be pushed hard. Mm-hmm. And if Microsoft or others can beat us, okay. That's fine. I'm happy with that. If we can't move fast enough, if we can't deliver a better set of value to our customers, then we deserve to lose. My feeling is we will out-innovate everybody in this space, and I'm reasonably sure that we'll do well in it.
Okay.
Certainly a big fan of the folks at Microsoft and Google, but my feeling is like, hey, we'll do a wonderful job in innovation.
We sort of spoke briefly about this potential for AI agents to disintermediate. And you don't necessarily share that view. I mean, it could be GDS, it could be TMC, but you're sort of thinking slightly differently along those lines.
I don't think that there's a world, I want to make sure I understand your question. I don't think there's a world in which the TMC goes away. Okay. I think there's always instances where I want to talk to somebody. But to be fair, there's also very complex bookings where I want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to understand the nuances and the kind of the fine details of what I really want to book. That doesn't mean that the TMC won't evolve dramatically. Right? In my view, 10 years from now, like, let's just take direct travel, one of our investments. I think with the exact same number of travel counselors, we'll be able to serve 2 to 3 times the number of customers.
Right, going back to what you said about the cost saving and the efficiency.
Exactly. But we'll also serve those customers in everything from a chat interface to a AI conversational interface to pick up the phone and call us to in-application messaging. Like, so there'll be lots of different ways to engage with the client, but the nature of the TMC is going to be radically different. And to be fair, I would argue they're going to be more technology innovators than they have been in the past. As opposed to system integrators.
You always talk about the perfect trip, and you're still a big proponent of the perfect trip. And I guess maybe you think it's closer than ever?
Yeah, look, I mean, the idea for the perfect trip started, a decade plus ago. And it was really out of the same frustrations I would imagine we all feel, which is, hey, I'd like my trip experience to be as wonderful as possible. Because I think you're taking time away from your family, you're taking time away from everything else in your life to go and be on a trip and do the work you're doing for your company. And so that experience should be as delightful as possible. The reality is, while that vision is something I think most of the industry shares, the reality is the technologies weren't available to do it.
Sure.
And so, fast forward to cloud-native architectures, machine learning, and so on. Now this is possible. Like open APIs is a big component of making this possible. If we have a disruption in a trip, why can't I communicate with every other service provider that is downstream from that disruption and say, here's the impact that it'll have on you, or here's the adjustments we need to make to that trip. We're seeing that being possible today, and that's amazing. So part of that I get energized by, but it's not just for corporate travel. It's for the consumer trip as well.
Do you have any thoughts on, what may prevent the perfect trip from happening?
It's certainly not technology anymore. I could see if we are biased in how we deliver content and how we provide service, sure, that makes it harder to deliver that perfect trip vision. But look, this is what's great about competition. If there's anybody or any organization that says, hey, look, this doesn't serve my needs, somebody else will step in and say, you know what, we'll solve that problem for you. So I don't look at it as hey, this is another goal that will not be met. I think in the next 2 to 5 years, you're going to see that objective around the perfect trip being a reality.
Generally for the industry, do you think, as the current trends, political conflict, job cuts on the horizon, weather incidents, what do you think kind of poses the biggest threat to the growth of the industry?
The travel industry overall? Look, I think that the industry is going to continue to grow. I would argue it'll grow a little bit faster than broad-based GDP. And the reason for it is that, look, well, 2 things. Number one, as human beings, we actually like spending time with others, right? And that coming out of COVID, you can see.
Yeah, these events prove it, right?
Exactly. The other is that, look, as much as you can do a lot in isolation, what you can do when you're together in a group setting, in an environment where you actually get to collaborate with others, it's 10x better than what you can do on your own. I love working from home, but I gotta tell you, I can do that 2 or 3 days a week, maybe. I need to be with my team. I need to be able to spend time with them. I need to understand what are they thinking, how does that affect the way I'm thinking about things, and vice versa. That's where real innovation comes from. Innovation happens when you're together. And to me, that is always going to be a driver of the travel industry, plus the fact that we live in a pretty amazing world and there's an opportunity to go see it.
I think we're about 30 years of Phocuswright, and you're probably more than 30 years since you founded Concur, or co-founded Concur. Is there anything you'd have done differently?
Yeah, sure, lots of things. Look, one of the things, I'll just talk about a company we're an investor in, a company called Troop, and Center. I want to talk about both those. We should have automated the small to medium-sized meetings space, and we just didn't get around to it. You think about it, this is other than corporate events or big events, this is largely paper, Excel spreadsheets, email, That's how you put together small and medium-sized meetings. The fact that that's how it's done is ridiculous. The fact that you can't get access to content such as hotel meeting spaces in a point-and-click model or specialty venues, at restaurants or chateaus, whatever it might be. Like, if you can't get access to that in a simple, easy-to-consume model, that's my view is like that should be solved, and it can be solved today. That's what Troop is doing. So they're automating something that's completely and utterly manual. And so I think that thing will take off. I wish we had done that at Concur. Look, the other piece at Concur...
Like you wish you'd have thought about it?
We should have thought... No, we knew about it. We should have invested more in it. But,
had a bigger vision around it.
Yeah, but these are learnings, right? You can always go back in time and say, these are things I wish I'd done better.
Right.
The other piece on Center, look, we've always had the view that financial services and financial applications will eventually come together. And it's not just in expense reporting and corporate cards. It's in banking and all the applications that we consume, whether it's on the consumer level or the corporate level. And we're seeing that come together now. The concept of the expense report should go away. It shouldn't exist at all. And that's, like, I think we're really...
It sucks, though.
It does. It's poor.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that we're within a year of that being completely gone. Within a year, you're not going to file an expense report again.
Okay, I'm going to get you to do my expense reports if we're still doing them.
Well, we'll just get you set up on Center.
Okay. Now, a few quick questions as we wrap up here. Anything you've changed in your leadership style over the years?
Well, I've become more patient.
Okay.
Yeah, well...
They say those kind of attributes get stronger as we...
No, you mean being more patient. Yes,
yeah.
100%. I think you realize that you still want to be aggressive. You still want to make sure that you're leaning in and really driving change, because that's where the excitement comes from. But you also, for me anyways, the learning has been, well, I get to work with a bunch of smart people, and I have to remember that I can learn more from them than they can from me. And so that helps, me be more patient.
Okay.
So I've enjoyed that part.
What's a wrong move you've made in your career?
God, we need another 20 minutes for that.
Okay, reset the clock.
No, look, I've made a number of wrong moves. Look, if I could go back in time, I would have thought about the way we delivered content via Concur and said, look, we have to be religious about keeping it open. And that you can't prioritize...
Closed shop.
You can't have a closed shop around content. And that was a mistake on my part. But there was many mistakes. That's just one of them.
Okay, interesting. What's an investment you wish you'd been in on? So I had a chance to, not as early as Bezos, but I had a chance to invest in Google when it was just $1 billion in valuation. Okay.
And I couldn't see far enough.
What made you pass it up?
Well, look, I mean, I ran a tech company. We traded at a very high multiple, and this one was at, 10 times our multiple, and I was thinking, well, maybe I'll pass on this. That was clearly a mistake.
Okay, wow. What's an industry you'd like to borrow from?
I don't know that I have an industry I'd point to there. I think that you're going to see every single industry, healthcare, travel, manufacturing, every single industry is going to go through a massive transformation over the next 20 years. So AI enables services businesses, which is frankly what direct travel is. These are going to be, in my view, some of the growth engines of our economy on a 1 to 2 decade period. So my feeling is like whatever lessons you can learn from them are about to get rewritten anyways.
Okay, final question. What would you still like to achieve?
Well, I'd love to see the idea of the perfect trip become a reality. Look, I think the other piece that would be really interesting is this concept of a global traveler identity. Become a reality at scale. And integrated into the travel experience, everything from booking through group events, through the expense reporting process. The idea, and through, frankly, your airport experience, through, frankly, even customs and immigration experience. Like that, in my view, is a big area that can get solved. But we have to find the right kind of use case to go solve it.
Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.